Hey there, my sweet friends, and welcome to day 4 of our 12 Days of Christmas in July series. If you're just joining in, you can find links for the first 3 days at the top of the description so you can get caught up. And don't forget to listen throughout the video for the question of the day. And for today, I am challenging myself to create a sweet and simple project. And you all know that I do struggle with clean and simple, and so this is my version. I still have a fair bit of finishing details, but without all the bulk and the dimension. And so for today, we're going to be creating these beautiful, sweet and simple cards. Not only are they pretty, but they are very practical as well, because you can tuck a gift card inside. And so these were made with a 6x6 paper pad, along with a cut apart sheet from a 12x12 collection. So if that sounds good to you, then stick around and we will make it together. So we're going to work with that Happy Holiday collection from Pinkfresh Studio. And you may recall from my haul video that I wound up picking up 2 of the same collection, and you would think that would be abnormal, but for me, apparently that is a problem that I continue to have. But this time I did get a 6x6 and a 12x12 size. I decided I would benefit from that because I really like the scale of this smaller paper pad, but I wanted the full-size cut aparts, and so we're going to be using both for our project today. And I just went through this 6x6 paper pad and I pulled all of those sheets out. It has 24 sheets, but 2 of them don't match when you get to mix and matching them for your cards. But I just pulled these out and kind of decided which ones would go together, and I want to have 4 of these 6x6 papers for each card because I do want to have it finished on the inside as well to just make it a little bit more festive and nice. So I've got the pinks together with the reds, and then there's greens and blues, and I think these look so sweet and festive. And then, you know, of course, I just went down through that paper pad and pulled all of these out, and it turns out that I will have enough of these patterns to create 5 cards. So I think that's a pretty good use of this paper pad, and it's only going to leave those 2 sheets behind, so I am okay with that. Now we are going to be using a very thick cardstock for the base. I don't want to cut a white cardstock and then add a colorful one to it just because we're trying to keep it sweet and simple. This is very thick. It's really sturdy. You can hear it. Got a lot of weight to it, and so that is going to be really nice. And for the card base itself, we're going to use this full sheet. It's 8.5 by 11, and we're going to score it, and then we're going to cut a portion of it out, and then we can reattach that to become our pocket. So I've just got my scoreboard here, and I will score these into halves. So the width wise would be 5.5. Take a couple of good passes with that. Remember, it's thick, so you want to make sure to get a good score line established. And then I'm turning it here so the other side is on top, and I'm going to score it at 4.25. And so when you fold this, you will have a standard A2 size greeting card, and it will fit into a standard A2 size envelope. Now you might have to add a little bit of extra postage if you ship them, but they will fit because we're not going to add all of those bulky dimensional layers. I'm bringing in my guillotine cutter now, and I want to remove this left top portion. So I'm just going to line that up here, and I'll have the score line right along the cutting blade. I'll go almost all the way up to, but not quite to where those score lines intersect. That's going to help prevent me from inadvertently cutting it down too far. So just come in with your scissor and go ahead and finish that off. we are going to be utilizing this portion that we cut off for the pocket, as well as some die cut layering. So I just want to cut this to 2 inches. And then we'll reserve this portion for an decorative edge that I want to add to these layers. So when we fold the card, we do want to have the portion that holds the gift card on the inside. So first fold over that side flap and then the top. And so when you present this card, it will have the finishing on the front, but when this opens, we'll have that offcut to create the pocket. So let's go ahead and get into our pattern paper. Keeping in mind that the orientation of that card will be landscape, I am being aware of where those patterns fall, and these are fairly directional, so make sure that you keep that in mind. And so I am just going to leave a border of that green cardstock as I would for any other layering. I'm going to cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller. So the standard size for the A2 would be 5.5 by 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut this to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I like to keep a piece that's long enough to stretch between these two guidelines so that I get it well and straight. So I want this for the top. I want the same pattern to go underneath the pocket. So let's do that one more time. 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I want the pocket pattern to be the same as what you will expose when you lift the top flap. So let's continue on with that for this pattern. And then I'll need 1 7/8 by 5 3/8 for covering that front of that pocket. Let's see if our offcuts will achieve that. Yes, it will. So now we don't need to cut into that extra piece. And that will also save us from having to get into that 12 by 12 paper. So let's cut that 1 7/8 by 5 3/8. And then that last piece, we're going to cover the front of the pocket flap. So one more time, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So now you can go back through your offcuts and see if there is an opportunity for layering for the front cover. And I think this will look very nice here as well. So let's go ahead and cut that to 5 3/8 also. And then we'll have all of our surfaces covered that we want. So I would go through those remaining sets of pages. So let's go ahead and get this card covered with those beautiful pattern papers. So while we're working along, this seems like a good time for that question of the day. And this one is going to be tough. You're going to have to think. It's got a little bit of a twist to it. What is your favorite song from a Christmas movie that is not a Christmas song? So for me, I am going to pick Pennies from Heaven. I just really love that genre of music. And so let me know in the comments, what is your choice for not Christmas song in a Christmas movie? You see, I'm going to add my pocket now, and I just put the adhesive along the ends and the bottom so that I can utilize this as a pocket. I'm going to be very careful to position this on the other side of that score line because I don't want to get anything jammed up in there and prevent it from folding properly. So that means it's just going to stick out the tiniest little bit. I'm going to come in and clip that off with my scissor. And cover that with my last little strip here of my pattern paper. Now, remember when we were cutting and folding for the base, we had that little sliver left over, which would have been this. And I have taken my die here from Lawn Fawn. This is the rooftop border. I've never made a rooftop with it, but I really do like that large scallop. And so I cut 2 of these scallops for each of these pieces that were left over. And that's going to let me have 2 scallops for each of these books. So I think it will be really nice to have one here at the top of this pocket just to kind of accentuate that. And then we can also add a little bit of extra detail for the cover, getting some use from what would be offcuts. So you can just put some pressure on this while that glue sets up, or if you made a stack of them, just stack them up and put a heavy book on top. And that will ensure that you have a good contact. Here's my Kroger card, so you can see that this will hold a gift card, and then you can have a nicer presentation for that. Let's go ahead and add some finishing details. Now, even though this is a sweet and simple card, I still want to have some of my favorite finishing details. We're just not going to have all the heavy embellishments. So let's work on adding a little bit for our cover. Now, I have that 12 by 12 sheet of cut aparts, and this is meant to be an Advent situation, and I think that we can still utilize these pieces and we'll just cover up the numbers. But what I want to focus on is having the background be colorful, because I do want to add one of these doilies and I don't want to add a layer of cardstock for a border. So I think the more colorful ones will show up better. So I'll just go through and clip these out, and then we'll try some on for our finished cards. So I've got the images that I've chosen for our 5 cards, and you can see that there's quite a lot left over. I would definitely utilize the ones with the lighter background if I were using a colorful cardstock border, but for our project today, we're trying to keep it simple. So let's start adding those now. And I am going to add a doily. So this is just a recollection doily. It's an older one. Any 4-inch doily will work perfectly for this A2 size card. And I'm going to keep in mind as I'm working along where the number is going to fall, because we do want to cover that up. So because it's in the top right corner, I'm going to anchor this doily a little bit lower and then top that on here. If you want to add some dimension, this would be a good place to add. If you have some foam spacers, then you can build up that dimension. But like I said, this is going to be the sweet and simple version. So I have gone through and finished off all of those other cards. You see different combinations. I just mixed and matched those to create this. And so I went through and found a contrasting color so that it would be a definite layering effect on that. So once again, we're gonna aim for this lower area and then top that off with a sweet cup of hot chocolate with whipped cream and candy. Here is this one with those beautiful stripes. Looks like the number's gonna consistently be in the top right corner. That is perfect. This snowman goes perfectly with the blue and the green on that stripe. Candy cane pattern for this one, so it's pinks and reds, so sweet together. Put the doily here. Top it off with a gift. You know, if it weren't for gift cards and Amazon wish lists, I would be more terrible at buying gifts than I am at wrapping them. So thankfully, we have an understanding family, and I just tell them, where's your list? And then I order, and that makes my life a whole lot easier. So here's the last one, and I'll put this one more in the center because the image has a 25, and I think that's okay. We don't need to cover that up. Put that here. Now I did go through that box of pre-made flowers that I had sorted out for our prep day, and I think if you add them without shaping them, so they're still going to be layered and they still have a lot of detail, but I didn't put the shaping into it and I didn't put the bulky center in, so I think these are still going to be perfect. And I paired them with some pine branches and holly, so I think these work together. I just want to distribute these so that I got a good combination for each of these. So I think blue works here, and I think blue will work here, and then we'll put red on the rest. I'm going to add those with hot glue just so that I know they'll be well secured. These might be fun to add to a crafting party, or if you're watching a Christmas movie with your friends, you could have these prepared and ready to assemble. I think that would be a lot of fun. So one last detail we can add without a lot of dimension are the sequins. So let's go ahead and put those on. And of course we want to put 3 on each one. We'll add those with our tombow. That's going to be it for our project and for day 4. I sure do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 5, and make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check in the description for links, and as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!